and so I think the more quilts are everywhere, the better,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so, I
Yeah.
mean,
Right. I
I just
agree.
think the
Yeah.
more they're out there, the better. And if
Yeah.
they're at West Elm or Target or where, I just think it's great.
Yeah. Right. What about fabric? How do you feel about fabric? Do you feel like the quality of the fabric matters? Will you buy anything anywhere? Do you have a certain set of like, do you have a sponsor with fabric? Like, where does your fabric come from for the quilts that you create?
So I don't do sponsors.
Yeah.
Just because for me, if you have that, then you kind of have to, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I have to make my own choices.
Yeah.
And so I do that. But when it comes to, tell me your question again. I'm sorry, I lost my.
Fabric. So we always hear like don't like you only should use good fabric. And so do
Oh,
you only use
okay.
like what is good fabric, and do you only use good fabric, or you like, the same way you feel about quilt, is it will you use any kind of fabric, or certain types of fabric you care about more?
Well, so
How does
I mean,
quality?
I'm open to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been experimenting with neoprene, you know,
Really?
it's fun. And, um,
That's really cool.
I mean, I'm open to everything, but
Yeah.
what's really important to me
Uh-huh.
is I put a lot of effort into my work.
Yeah.
And so I don't want it to fall apart. So I think investing in quality materials, and whether they come from a thrift store or whether they come from a fabric store, or whether they come from somebody's attic. I think they
Yeah.
can come from all of those places, but I want quality materials in my pieces. And because it takes a long time to make a quilt,
It
and I
does.
put a whole lot of effort in. And very honestly, I've had experiences where I bought cheap fabric and I made a really lovely quilt and I washed it once and it faded and I thought I was just going to die.
Yeah.
It's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
So,
So
you
how do
know,
you so if someone's listening and they're like, okay, well, what is good fabric? How do you know when a fabric is considered good? What makes it good?
well, so see, and the reason I made that quilt because I
Mm-hmm.
thought the fabric was adorable. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know it was going to
Right.
fade. And so I think, there are things like that you learn over time,
Yeah.
that you learn over time.
Yeah.
But I'm also, like, for example, I buy high quality thread.
Mm-hmm.
I use all kinds of fabrics,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to put good materials into my pieces. I guess I'm open to lots of things, but I put so much work into
Yeah.
these pieces that I
Yeah.
don't want them to fall apart.
Yeah.
And that's been a learning experience for me because I didn't know what quality thread was.
Yeah.
I didn't know those kind of things.
Yeah.
So that's evolved for me over time.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Very interesting. So, on a related note, the big thing in the news is that JaffTech bought free spirits. Do you have any thoughts about that? Does it matter to you? We interviewed Scott Fortunoff before that happened, like 2 weeks before. It must have been in the works. So we learned a little bit about JaffTech and what it was, and a family company, and that they sell it quilt shops and at Walmart and those kind of places and Joann's. But I don't really understand how to understand what that is. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that. Or if you don't have shop thoughts, it's okay too.
That's a tough one for me, honestly.
Yeah?
But I worry that sometimes we're putting so much stuff out there, and that it can't all be consumed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I want our fabric companies to be vital and, providing you options. But I worry a little bit that sometimes there's
There's too
I mean,
much.
you can only put so many collections out and so
Yeah.
many SKUs. I mean, when you think about having, hundreds of SKUs for a quilt store to carry a line of fabric, it just can't happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I really want my local quilt shop to be in business. And so I worry a little bit.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That really does. All right, let me ask you. Tell me a little bit, if you don't mind. We'll just go a little bit longer. Tell me a little bit more about Mighty Lucky Spool Media and the Mighty Lucky Quilting Club.
The Mighty Lucky Quilting Club. Well, so I think I've been in it twice. And first of all, Lucky Spool is the publisher of my last book, my Walking Foot quilting book.
Uh-huh.
And they do the Mighty Lucky Quilting Club.
Right.
And I just think it's a fun way to learn something new.
Uh-huh.
And try things and kind of get feedback. There's a social media component to that. I did it twice, and we had a lot of fun. So I just think it's another opportunity to learn, I guess.
Yeah.
And the more classes, that kind of little kind of compartmentalized Mighty Lucky Club is just another way to learn.
Yeah.
And the more kind of stuff like that we can put out there so that we can learn together, I think it's great.
Now, have you ever had I guess I'm trying to think about examples of it, but have you ever had like private clubs or subscription clubs for people who are like your followers or super fans? The Crafty Gemini does it. I think Stephanie at Modern Society is doing one of those now. Is there any, because a lot of the stuff you do is like on other people's platforms. Have you ever done one that's sort of internal, that's like your crowd following you kind of thing?
So I haven't, but I think I'm going to be kind of jumping away and videoing my own classes.
Interesting.
I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think I have enough knowledge, and I think there are resources out there for me to tap into now that really weren't there before. So video is going to be another kind of money-making avenue for me as I hopefully stop traveling quite as much as I have been in the last few years.
Yeah, you travel a lot. That's kind of how do you do that? That's a lot. I'm not a traveler, so I admire your travel ability, but wow.
So once you get there, it's great.
Yeah.
The traveling part it's hard and it wears on you.
Yeah.
But I've loved it. But I'm starting to figure out how to bring people to me.
Yeah.
Because I think I have a reputation now that may support that.
Yeah.
So that I can have other people do the traveling and come to me and me not have to be on the road quite so much.
Oh, so have like in Kansas City a space for people to come take classes there? Is that what you're thinking?
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm
gonna bring people to me.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, that's very cool. Okay, that's awesome. Well, as you do this, I would love to interview you again because I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a social entrepreneurship professor at Tulane, so I'm really curious as how people build things. So I would love to interview you as you as you go and see like what happened. It'd be really interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, weekend with Jackie, man.
Totally, I'll come. We'll have a Just Wanna Quilt one. We'll get all of our people to come. It would be great.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's cool. I'm really interested in these spaces. Like, the Crafty Gemini, I don't know if you know her, Vanessa Varga Wilson, who's incredible. These people who are internet savvy, they have built a following, and then they are able to monetize that following is a really fascinating space. So I'm really curious what will happen with you because I think that that's, as I said, you've got a brand and you've got people already know you and they like your classes, and so it'll be really interesting to see how you build your empire in ways that are so really, I think it's awesome. So
I'm going to tell my sons that I have an empire.
You totally do. It's like, how do you monetize? How do you build on that empire and do it in a really clever ways? I think it's really, really interesting. So
because to make a living, you really do have to diversify and be creative, and you have to work your butt off.
Yep. Yeah. Now, do you have a team? Because I've seen that like the people, so Vanessa's husband helps her, and Leah Day's husband and dad help her. And I'm curious sort of like how much of a team, like how do you do it all? Like, do you have a team? Is it just you? Like how do you get it all, how do you make it all work? Like, and the books and everything.
You're looking at her.
Oh, that's
I am my team.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Well,
yeah.
It's pretty remarkable, you know? That's remarkable. Well, that's really
thanks.
cool.
I'm tired.
I get it. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, I'm working with a friend in Kansas City right now to help me kind of figure out how to, bring people to Jackie in Kansas City. So cool. I've reached out for help, for the first time because I'm kind of that stubborn, independent worker.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that makes sense. And then tell me about, now that you've got this as your professional, do you still quilt for fun or is it always work?
It's always fun.
It's always fun. I like that.
I found something I was passionate about.
Yeah.
I decided to monetize it, but it really is fun.
Yeah.
Even though it's work and it's my job and I'm really serious about it.
Yeah.
I made a great piece today and it was fun. It's joyful.
Yeah. That's so cool. Okay, and then I have to ask you about intellectual property stuff, but this is the last question. Why is craft foam your favorite material? What do you use craft foam for?
Oh, so I designed with craft foam.
You do?
About craft foam.
I was like, what do you use that for?
So I read the book Steal Like an Artist, Austin Kleon, and one of the things that he talks about in one of his books is about working with your hands and kind of getting away from the digital designing. And I'm kind of old school. And when I read that, I was like, that is so me. I never jumped to designing on the computer. I like to cut paper. And then when I found these really big packs of craft foam, so there's so much, it kind of almost has a fabric-y feel to it. But it's so much easier to cut and manipulate and work with than paper. And I am obsessed. I love craft foam, and it comes in these terrible, Pepto-Bismol pink and ugly colors that you kind of have to force yourself to work with. Really it's an amazing manipulative.
Oh, that's really cool.
I really believe that we jumped to digital way too soon. And manipulating craft foam, paper, fabric, it activates something in me for sure that sitting in front of a computer screen doesn't do.
Really interesting. I love it.
You should try craft foam. It's amazing.
I will try it. I totally will try it. Okay, so the last question, the last bit of time is about intellectual property. So sure. What are your feelings about copyright? Obviously your books are copyrighted and crafts and your videos, they protect them and do all of that. Like your work, how important is the copyright and intellectual property system to the work that you do?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. Because you're in a creative industry. And I'm going to go back to Austin Kleon. I love his book, Steal Like an Artist, because, I really believe that I believe that there are new ideas out there and people put things together in new ways. So much of what we do as artists comes from the people that came before us. And for me, intellectual property is about honoring those who came before us, acknowledging where you got your inspiration, acknowledging that I think is important. I do believe that two artists can come up with the same thing. I truly believe that happens.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be respectful and honor each other in that.
Yeah.
So I guess it's by lifting others, you lift yourself up, I guess is a good way to say it. But but I just think it's really important to acknowledge and honor